going on there, guys? We back with another one, and today we got to talk about Stephen A. Smith after someone pulled receipts of the way he covers black athletes and the way he covers white athletes. And you know, this comes after he made some jokes about Zion's belly today. Now, Zion needs to take accountability for the way he looks. You know, you should not be looking this way in the NBA after this amount of time and the injuries you've had and the amount of time you missed. So let's start there. But he made a joke about Zion, you know, and was going in. And people was really waiting last week or the week before to hear what he had to say about Josh Giddey, him and Malika Andrews. Now we got someone who's put together a video, and it shows his coverage of Ray Rice, how it differs from his coverage of Dana White. And, you know, clowning Zion's weight opposed to Josh Giddey. You know, we're going to look at all of these clips. And Stephen A. Smith, he's come out and said, you know, the bosses have them talk about certain topics and ask certain questions all the time. This should come as no surprise to any of us, actually, after they've come out their mouths and said it. But we're about to check out these clips, and I'll be back.
That's connected in the world of sports. He's a friend. I love the guy, personally. So this is a very hard subject for me. We talk all the time. We certainly connected briefly since this happened. Mm-hmm. He knew there's no way on earth that I wasn't going to talk about it. My heart goes out to his family because this is a very, very embarrassing situation. He says it has never, ever happened before. He's completely ashamed and utterly disgusted with himself that he finds himself in this situation, that he would ever have done such a thing to a woman he's been married to for 30 years. I saw the brother go to the free throw line. He looked like he had a belly. He looked like he had a belly. It is shameful. You got chefs in New Orleans. I'm not exaggerating. I'm quoting people. You got chefs in New Orleans who love him. They're looking for him. Every chef there wants to meet him because they know he'll show up to their restaurant. The word out on Zion Williamson is that he'll eat the table. I'm quoting. He'll eat the table. What in the hell is going on with Zion Williamson?
Good morning. On Friday, speaking right here on First Take on the subject of domestic violence, I made what can only amount to the most egregious error of my career. While elaborating on thoughts concerning the NFL's ruling versus Ray Rice, following a domestic dispute with his then fiancée, I ventured beyond the scope of our discussion by alluding to a woman's role in such heinous matters, going so far as to use the word provoke in my diatribe. My words came across that it is somehow a woman's fault. This was not my intent. It is not what I was trying to say. Yet the failure to clearly articulate something different lies squarely on my shoulders. To say what I actually said was foolish is an understatement. To say I was wrong is obvious. To apologize, to say I'm sorry, doesn't do the matter its proper justice, to be quite honest. But I do sincerely apologize.
You know, everything that has happened to Kyrie Irving, that Kyrie Irving has self-inflicted, go back and look at the tapes. Quote him. It's always the media. Always. You're in Brooklyn. Nobody has thought about you. And still, you wanted to sit up there and implement yourself in the proceedings by talking about how the game should not be played. You weren't playing anyway, while collecting $33 million. Who else did you play with? She's been getting some major heat, in particular from former NFL wide receiver Des Bryant for ignoring the situation involving or surrounding NBA player Josh Giddey of the Oklahoma City Thunder and the accusations of him having an inappropriate relationship with an underage girl. First things first, before I get even any further, let me tell you what Des Bryant had to say. Let me read that quote to you right now. Des Bryant tweets, Malika Andrews, you went out of your way to crucify Brandon Miller, the #2 overall pick of the Charlotte Hornets on draft day, over something he didn't even do, wrote Bryant. Why haven't you said nothing about Josh Giddey? I advise you not to make this a black or white thing. Your parents really raised you wrong, and just because you went to a private school don't make you better. You appeal and I know you're kind. You're just a puppet. I don't know how a former or current NBA player could sit there across from you and look at you with some kind of respect. Let me say this. Bryant, I miss him. I miss Bryant because I loved watching him as a wide receiver for the Dallas Cowboys for those 8 years he was there before he suffered that injury and came back and tried to resume his career in Baltimore, and that didn't work out. I respect you, my brother, but that was a bit extreme. You see, without trying to get too involved in it, I feel compelled to get involved because I think that a lot of people are missing the issue involving Josh Giddey to begin with. Josh Giddey is being investigated for allegedly messing with an underage girl. We don't know the facts. And because we don't know the facts, and we represent a network, we have to make sure I's are dotted and T's are crossed before we provide commentary to that. The investigation is ongoing by the NBA. The Oklahoma City Thunder refuses to comment on it. Josh Giddey refuses to comment on it. And as a result, all we can keep doing is reminding everybody the brother being investigated. He's from Australia. He's being investigated for messing with an underage girl. That's problematic. And the NBA is investigating because next thing you know, they may take some heat because people may be asking them, what are you going to do about it? If this was the National Football League, chances are he would be put on a commissioner's exempt list where he wouldn't be allowed to play until the investigation was complete. Malika Andrews is a colleague of mine. There's no question about that. We got into our little tussle on the air after the Ime Udoka situation, or as that was brewing. She came at me in a certain way. I checked the situation the way I felt it needed to be checked. We had a conversation. Later, she apologized. I accepted her apology because I'm a human being and I make mistakes too. How in God's name does Malika Andrews not ask that question on draft night? She had to. I'm telling you, me or any other reporter that was in that situation has an obligation to ask a team, an NBA official, or somebody about that question. There's no wiggle room around it. If she hadn't asked that question, the bosses would have been wondering why she had that job. If I was sitting in her chair and I didn't ask that question, since after all he was the number 2 overall pick and he was getting drafted and all of this residue was just months removed, I would have been asked, why do I have my job? That goes for any journalist. So we have to take that into consideration. Zion Williamson, he looks fat. He looks fat. While LeBron James had dropped 30 in 3 quarters and had completely dominated and looked in peak physical condition, Zion Williamson, who's more than 15 years younger, went to the free throw line. I saw a belly. When he took a deep breath, his belly bounced. That kind of belly. I mean, damn. But you look like you showed up to the game having just ate a buffet. Not something from the buffet, the buffet. Like you ate the damn table. Get in my belly. That's what I saw. I know they got a weight clause in this contract. They got to. He got to be violating that. So he's addicted to food. I'm speculating, but it's got to be. But Zion Williamson, in basketball parlance, is fat. It's got to change.
So, man, I really think people are just starting to reach their boiling point with the way sports are covered on ESPN, especially when you have people like Cameron and Mace that give unbiased takes. You don't have to agree with their takes or what they're saying, but they will call out any and everybody and not be so selective with it. You know, it becomes like a smear campaign, and obviously you have certain people you're going to talk about every day on these networks because that brings the most engagement, but it's like overkill at this point. And we've seen Stephen A. Smith recently say, you know, his contract's up in 18 months and he's going to be up out of there. Now, my thing is, if he leaves ESPN, are people going to accept him jumping, you know, into this world where he's able to say what he wants the same way. I think he can. I think he can move over, but it's going to be some people looking at him as just like an opportunistic guy that sees, okay, there is a market. Underdog is throwing certain amounts of dollars at people like Cameron and Mace for saying exactly how they feel and not going, through the corporate world and having to adhere to their rules and the way they regulate things. And I think that's very intriguing to Stephen A. Smith. The only thing is, you've ruffled some feathers of different individuals for years. So, but Stephen A. still does have a good amount of relationships. Now, the one clip that's troublesome to me, though, is how he minced his words for Dana White, the way he apologized for that Ray Rice thing. Who was the lady that was on that episode? They got offended with Stephen A. Was it Molly back then? I can't remember, but I remember some woman on the show getting very upset with him. He got suspended behind that, behind that Ray Rice thing. And then he had to apologize when he came back, for just offering a take. He didn't say Ray Rice should have hit her. He just wanted to know what had provoked the situation to reach the heights that it reached. And I think that's a question you can ask. Should a man be hitting a woman? No. Can a woman try to grab a firearm or something to stab someone with and use it, and the male has to defend himself? Can those scenarios be like that? Yeah. Now, we saw the Ray Rice video, and it was absolutely egregious. What he did was inexcusable. So I'm not even taking up for him. I'm just saying, that was before the clip came out, and Stephen A. was just posing the question and giving hypotheticals, which I think hypotheticals are good. If we're going to discuss something, we have to discuss the entire scope of possibility when we don't have cold hard facts at the time. And I think that's all he was doing at that moment. So for him to go up there and apologize, him being scared to put out any type of statement on Giddey, which, okay, you could say the investigation is going on and nothing really came out. You could definitely say that. Dana White, we saw it, but just because you his friend, he got covered different. Then when you talked about Kyrie Irving, you said it was personal, and you got mad at Jay Williams live on TV. So there's some inconsistency there, and you pride yourself on being real. You don't mince your words. You said that several times, but we seeing that the network does make you mince your words. You're real to a point, and going in on Zion like that, man. I can't say Zion doesn't deserve some of it, but it's almost like selective at this point. And I think that's what turns people off is very selective with who you go at and how hard you go at them based on your relationship with them or clicks or, how you personally feel about them. So that's all I have to say, guys. I want to know your thoughts in the comment section. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Till next time. Peace.